So I have 4 suggestions for the next Secretary of State in Connecticut. We should see, number 1, at-large congressional voting. We have 5 kind of weirdly shaped districts to cover a fairly small state. But in a given district, there is almost no continuity of interest, okay? In Connecticut's 4th district, Greenwich and Westport are markedly different from Bridgeport. In the 5th district, Waterbury, markedly different from Kent. In the 2nd district, the military-influenced Groton, New London area, very different from Tony Somers and Enfield, still in the same district. At-large voting means we would elect all 5 Connecticut congressional reps on the same ballot. The beneficiary, every voter who right now feels stuck with 2 not-so-good candidates, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and you end up voting for the lesser of 2 evils, and one of them is not good, maybe an evil. When you have 6 or more candidates for 5 slots, you might get 10 candidates. You're almost certainly getting 10 very good candidates. From those 10, voters can choose up to 5. And a voter in a district who feels like, gosh, I've got nobody good representing me on this ballot. Well, that won't happen when you've got many people to choose from, and you don't have to use all 5 votes, so maybe just push for 1 or 2 who seem very good. Connecticut is small enough that campaigning can still take place. One representative from southwest all the way to northeast is no more than 3 hours away. Candidate exposure is still guaranteed. And interests are better guaranteed because geography, as I described, doesn't really indicate similarity of interests. But internet is how we get so much of our news now. And you might end up with a candidate who probably can only command 25% for a certain impassioned issue that she's going to bring to Congress if elected. Well, all that candidate needs is 21 to 25% of the vote to become one of the 5 top vote getters. Our interests thus become diverse ones. Connecticut isn't necessarily filled with 5 of almost the same type of representative. One who can't go out of his or her way lest a statement offend a block of people. One who therefore can't be strident and ends up being mealy-mouthed, non-committal, same old, same old. We know the 2-party system is broken. This would probably help get more parties, more on that later. Proposal 2. The slight imbalances in apportioning, I think, should be expanded. Tolerate more differences in population so that you could have instead better districting, town by town by town, instead of congressional and state senate districts that go through towns and rip them apart. Cohesiveness, therefore, has a little more meaning. I'm not worried about a 20% imbalance because you don't really know how many voters are active in a district anyway. Right now we go by population, but in a place where very few voters turn out, you have an imbalance even with the current system. Let it grow at least more so that there's no district severing. There'd also be a reduction in gerrymandering. The reason you have districts that cut into one portion of one town is often because some incumbent works on the re-engineering of lines to get, I want those homes, okay? I'm their type of person. I need them in my district. And then there's a trade-off with somebody else. It once again becomes incumbent protection. Number 3, liberalize ballot access. Let newer candidates be seen on the ballot. It's doable in Connecticut, but it's very hard in statewide races. You need an awful lot of signatures. And the signature process, it's kind of silly. It demands of candidates to go and meet strangers, maybe at their homes, which is a little creepy, maybe in suburban shopping areas, which can sometimes be offensive, asking strangers, would you like to see me on the ballot? And they don't know who is me. A lot of them sign anyway, which is nice, but wouldn't it be better just to get, instead of 2,000 signatures, get 10? 10 people who would also say, I know this person. This person is trustworthy, deserves to be on the ballot. Now, might this threaten big established parties? Yeah, it does, but that's overdue. We've had the same two-party system since 1861. It is not a good thing to be stuck with this. Almost everybody laments it. Now, if Democrats really want their agendas to stay intact with other little parties making it onto the ballot, they still have the ability to bargain with them. The Greens could end up nominating the same person as the Democrats, but maybe the Greens get something in return. The Libertarians might not divide the Republicans. They could end up nominating the same person, getting something in return. But isn't it nice for a voter to still say, I'm voting for that guy. That guy is on two lines, both the Republican and the Libertarian line. And I don't really like what Republicans are up to. I like this guy. I'm going to vote for him on the other line, the Libertarian line. Puts you in more power. Finally, I would like to see the end of machine voting. At least end of exclusively machine voting. Okay? If towns want and trust the machines, fine. But there should be, at least in statewide races, old-fashioned hand voting. It doesn't take that much more time, and it is more secure. We don't know when we stick something into a box. It's a black box, literally. What happens after it is kind of guesswork. We do trust some public officials who are administering to what the number count is. I would rather trust people, multiple people, looking at the count. It doesn't take that much longer. If you need 3 recounts, you can still finish by 3 a.m. And who needs to stay up that late anyway? You could go to bed at 11. Okay, you're still not done. Come back tomorrow. We don't need to see a vote hour by hour by hour during election night. We could wait a whole week if need be. Let's go back to a very doable thing that ends controversy, stops it in its tracks, to not force machines town by town by town. Again, if they want to do it themselves, they can, in addition to a hand count for every statewide office. I hope our next Secretary of State candidates will take some, if not all, of these proposals into their campaigns next year. I'm Mark Stewart.